And now she's trying to reinvent herself because there's been so much blowback. And you can only imagine the studio calls about this woman behind the scene. Like, oh my God, we're $242 million in, and our lead actress hates our film, our actors, our storyline.
Disney's Snow White remake just became the most toxic fairy tale in Hollywood, and it has nothing to do with poisoned apples. Behind the scenes, the tension between its two stars has finally erupted into an all-out war.
The movie that nobody wanted to see, and I mean that seriously, nobody wants to see this movie. Ticket pre-sales are nowhere near what Disney was hoping for. Let's just say if you wanted to buy tickets for the 9 p.m. show tonight, wherever you are in America, you'd be just fine.
Rachel Zegler has reportedly exploded on Gal Gadot, publicly blaming her for destroying what should have been Disney's next billion-dollar hit, with the film suffering a catastrophic 66% box office collapse in just its second weekend. Insiders reveal the behind-the-scenes drama that makes the evil queen look tame by comparison.
Now, for Disney, as you probably remember, all of this publicity, the Zegler interviews, the Daily Mail leak, caused a lot of unexpected, for them anyway, pre-production problems. People weren't supposed to see and understand just how unwatchable the new Snow White was going to be. It was supposed to be, kind of a surprise, but now there was no hiding.
From separate press tours to shocking political differences and one viral performance that critics are calling the true poison apple, today we're exposing the real reason Disney's Snow White is the studio's biggest disaster in years. The backstage battle between these two A-listers has turned uglier than anyone could have imagined, and it's only getting worse.
It had the lowest opening, under 50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
The numbers are in, and they're devastating. Disney executives are in full panic mode as Snow White has become their biggest box office nightmare in years. This fairy tale remake, which cost a jaw-dropping $250 million to produce, crashed on arrival with just $43 million domestically and $44 million internationally.
But these guys at Disney, they're not that bright, they're not that smart, and we see that because they can't come up with any new IP.
And that was just the beginning of the disaster. This past weekend, Snow White collapsed with a shocking 66% decline, getting absolutely crushed by Jason Statham's A Working Man. Critics have been merciless, with the film scoring a pitiful 41% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So now, as the movie comes out, the two biggest stars in this movie can't stand each other to the point where they can't be in the same room, which forced Disney, in their infinite wisdom, to cut back on doing a formal premiere.
But wait, it gets even worse. Audiences have spoken, and they're furious. Snow White currently sits at an almost unbelievable 1.5 out of 10 on IMDb, making it Disney's worst-rated live-action remake in history. One critic from The Observer didn't hold back, calling it toe-curlingly terrible.
The latest victim of really bad ideas is finally here. The magical Disney DEI woke equity version of the 1937 classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But because the word dwarves is now apparently controversial, Disney took that part out of the movie altogether. And now the movie is just called Snow White, which would be like Disney taking lions out of Lion King or mermaids out of The Little Mermaid.
Disney expected their next billion-dollar princess. Instead, they got their most humiliating flop in years. But the real question is, who is to blame? According to shocking new reports, Rachel Zegler knows exactly who ruined this film, and she's not staying quiet anymore.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Let's talk about the explosive drama between the two stars that destroyed Disney's fairy tale from the inside out. At the center of this $250 million disaster are Rachel Zegler as Snow White and Gal Gadot as the evil queen. And sources say they've been at war since day one.
I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting, maybe, in the history of the film industry.
Initially, all eyes were on Zegler. The young actress faced intense backlash after being cast as Snow White due to her Latina heritage. But the controversy exploded when old interviews resurfaced where Zegler trashed the original Disney classic as extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
Disney is having its own problems. They're finally releasing the latest adaptation of Snow White, but they're scaling back the Hollywood premiere of the film. Kinsey, why is that?
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
She's a PR nightmare. I don't know how anyone would hire her.
She didn't stop there. Zegler also slammed the original love story as being about a guy who literally stalks her, calling it weird, and confirming the remake would eliminate this aspect. Disney purists were outraged, accusing Zegler of attacking their beloved childhood classic.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed.
But after the film's release, something shocking happened. The blame dramatically shifted to Gal Gadot's performance as the evil queen. Viewers and critics alike have eviscerated her acting as flat, forced, and painfully wooden. One viral tweet that's been viewed over 12 million times compared her efforts to a high school theater production, adding the brutal pun, "Gal Gadot's acting Israeli bad."
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
Sources close to Zegler reveal she's been fuming behind the scenes, believing Godot's performance single-handedly tanked the film. One insider claims Zegler watched the final cut and was horrified by Godot's scenes, immediately predicting the film would bomb at the box office, and she was right.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the...
But the real story behind Snow White's epic failure goes way beyond bad acting. Behind the scenes, the set was a political powder keg ready to explode at any moment. Sources close to production have leaked that Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot were at each other's throats from day one. Their opposing political views turned the fairy tale set into a war zone. Zegler, who's never afraid to speak her mind, had previously posted pro-Palestine content and made no secret of her anti-Trump stance. Meanwhile, Godot, who proudly served in the Israeli Defense Forces, has publicly defended her country's military actions, leading some critics to accuse her of genocide cheerleading.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
The tension got so intense that Disney executives were forced to schedule separate press tours for the actresses. According to a bombshell report in People magazine, insiders revealed that Zegler and Godot have nothing in common and pointed to their huge age gap and completely opposite political views. One source exposed the truth, saying they were fine with Rachel, but they are not friends. They did a job together, and that's it.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings.
Things deteriorated so badly that Disney even increased security measures for Godot during promotional events. Multiple sources confirmed that Zegler refused to be in the same room as her co-star by the end of production. This wasn't just creative differences. This was an all-out Hollywood feud that ultimately destroyed Disney's $250 million investment.
Sweetie, you're being paid $25 million and you're on TV saying your bosses suck. So Rachel Zegler, maybe keep your mouth shut.
As if the Zegler-Godot feud wasn't explosive enough, Disney's attempts to modernize the beloved classic backfired in spectacular fashion. Their disastrous decision to replace the iconic Seven Dwarfs with bizarre CGI magical creatures created an instant backlash that sent shockwaves through Hollywood.
I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that. I can't imagine. I mean, Christian, you tell me. But is she not seen as box office poison now because of all of her antics?
You know, it's kind of a mixed track record. She's still fairly young. Her West Side Story debut was not a hit, and that was a Spielberg movie, so that was kind of a surprise. But if you're a studio, if you're a director, if you're a casting director, you've got to think twice or three times before hiring her. Listen, she's talented, she's attractive, she's got skill, but there are a lot of actresses in Hollywood who bring all that to the table and are not going to absolutely sabotage your work. She was plucked out of obscurity by Steven Spielberg. All you say is thank you, Mr. Spielberg, and you keep saying that for the next 50 years.
Actors with dwarfism were outraged, publicly slamming Disney for what they called fake inclusivity. One actor didn't hold back, declaring Disney is trying too hard to be politically correct, but in doing so it's destroying our careers and opportunities. This attempt to avoid stereotypes completely backfired, adding yet another layer of controversy to the already toxic production.
But these guys at Disney, they're not that bright, they're not that smart, and we see that because they can't come up with any new IP. Why not write some new movies? You guys sit around, you have billions of dollars, they keep going back and rewriting the classics.
But the CGI creatures themselves? Nightmare fuel. The Guardian didn't mince words, calling the trailer the hugiest thing ever committed to screen. Fans were horrified by what many described as creepy, uncanny valley monstrosities that looked like they belonged in a horror film rather than a fairy tale.
Disney, despite losing over $1 billion on their last 4 movies, as they continue to shove woke politics into people's faces who just want to go to the movie, laugh, cry, and go home. Look, people don't want to be lectured when they're watching a movie, and they certainly don't want to be told that they're bad people. But that's what Disney continues to do.
According to leaked reports, Zegler was furious about these creative decisions, believing they made her job impossible. Sources say she directly confronted Disney executives, warning them that Gadot's wooden performance, combined with these CGI abominations, would tank the entire film. When they ignored her concerns, the tension on set reportedly reached boiling point.
Now, one thing that is already universally known at this point by the general public is the fact that Disney is in full-on damage control.
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Now, as Disney executives scramble to save face, the explosive blame game has begun. Jonah Platt, son of the film's powerful producer Mark Platt, just threw Zegler under the bus, publicly claiming she threw her personal politics into the campaign and declaring her actions clearly hurt the film's box office.
Every Disney movie is about a woman waiting for a man, okay? Sleeping Beauty, she is comatose until a man comes to kiss her and wake her up. Rapunzel, she's up in a tower, taking biotin, hair vitamins, waiting for a man. This is what these women are
Cinderella.
doing. Is it the best? Yes, Cinderella. Is this the best message to send to young girls? No, but you don't have to rewrite and rework the classics. Come up with something new, you guys.
But according to shocking insider reports, Zegler is refusing to be Disney's scapegoat. Sources close to the actress reveal she's furious about being blamed for the film's failure when Godot's performance has been universally panned as wooden, forced, and the true poison apple of the production.
This movie's cost them $200 million and counting, and instead of America being excited to take their families, I've got kids, we'd normally be excited to go see the remake of Bashful, Doc, Dopey, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, and Sneezy. Disney is looking at another woke flop with magical creatures instead of dwarves in a movie about 7 dwarves.
Multiple industry insiders confirm that Zegler has finally snapped, telling Disney executives point blank that Gadot is the real reason the film bombed. In a heated behind-closed-doors meeting, Zegler reportedly erupted, laying out exactly how Gadot's high school theater production-level acting destroyed what should have been her breakout role.
She told Variety that I'm only responsible for what I feel, and then I'm responsible for how I act upon it, which makes no sense at all.
Disney is desperately trying to keep this A-list FEU under wraps, but the damage is done. What started as creative differences has evolved into Hollywood's most toxic on-set rivalry in years, with neither star willing to back down as their $250 million fairy tale continues its catastrophic box office collapse.
We've already covered how Rachel Zegler is a terrible choice for Snow White. Nothing about her says Snow White, and that's even leaving aside the fact that she openly detests the story, as she's said many times during this disastrous PR campaign. But Gal Gadot, who plays the Queen, the first problem is that she's the evil queen. The evil queen is supposed to be envious of Snow White's beauty, and that is just not believable. It is just not, even in a movie with magical mirrors and dwarves and all that, in a fairy tale, that strains my ability to suspend disbelief. I cannot buy that Gal Gadot is angry that she's not as beautiful as Rachel Zegler. I cannot buy that.
What started as Disney's next big princess movie has now exploded into Hollywood's messiest A-list feud. Industry insiders are stunned as the Zegler-Gadot war continues to escalate behind the scenes. Film critic Kelechi Ehenilo claims Zegler has become a victim of culture wars, but sources close to the actress say she's done being the scapegoat.
I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that. I can't imagine. I mean, Christian, you tell me. But is she not seen as box office poison now because of all of her antics?
It's kind of a mixed track record. She's still fairly young. Her West Side Story debut was not a hit, and that was a Spielberg movie, so that was kind of a surprise. But if you're a studio, if you're a director, if you're a casting director, you've got to think twice or 3 times before hiring her. Listen, she's talented, she's attractive, she's got skill, but there are a lot of actresses in Hollywood who bring all that to the table and are not going to absolutely sabotage your work. She was plucked out of obscurity by Steven Spielberg. All you say is thank you, Mr. Spielberg, And you keep saying that for the next 50 years.
In an unprecedented move, Zegler has reportedly told Disney executives she will not take the blame for a failure she believes rests squarely on Gadot's shoulders. Multiple sources confirm Zegler has receded, pointing to the countless reviews trashing Gadot's performance while praising her own work as one of the film's few bright spots. Disney is now facing their worst nightmare, a $250 million disaster with two leads who can't stand each other and a PR crisis that keeps getting uglier by the day. The question now isn't whether Snow White can be saved, it's whether this toxic feud will permanently damage both actresses' careers. One thing is certain, this fairy tale doesn't have a happy ending. As one Disney insider put it, Rachel finally stopped biting her tongue. She believes Gal completely sabotaged this film, and she's not going to pretend otherwise anymore. What do you think? Is Rachel Zegler justified in exploiting on Gal Gadot? Or should she have kept quiet as Snow White continues its box office collapse? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more explosive Hollywood drama that the mainstream media won't tell you about.